It is SoFi's time to climb, and the upward tear has already started with the stock up about 9% in the past month and about 12% since July 8th. But even with that move, the stock is down over 26% year to date, while the S&P 500 is up 14% year to date. So SoFi is underperforming the index by a wide margin in 2024 so far. SoFi has a long way to go to even break even on the year, much less meet or beat the index, which is definitely what we would like to see at bare minimum. But the upward tear and upward momentum with SoFi stock is just getting started, and it's going to intensify next week on July 30th. That's when SoFi is going to report their Q2 2024 earnings. And I want to talk about a few things I think we're going to see inside that earnings and inside that earnings call that could really change the sentiment around SoFi for the back half of 2024. And when sentiment changes for the better, stock prices move up in the short and medium term. We know that in the long term, they follow fundamentals, and SoFi's fundamentals are as strong as ever and are only strengthening from here. But in the short term and medium term, we need some excitement around the stock to get that momentum going to make the stock move upward over the next few months. And before we dive into anything, just remember, I care way more about what's going to happen with SoFi over the next 5 to 6 years than I do over the next 5 to 6 months with SoFi stock. I'm excited to dive into the video, but first, if you're new here, I'm Austin. I'm a co-owner of cloudmusicsuite.com. I'm also a stock market investor, and most importantly for this video, I'm a SoFi shareholder. It's actually a top 3 holding for me. If you're not subscribed already, help us get to that 4,500 subscriber mark, which we're really close to, and drop a like on the video. It helps the channel out in a massive way. Thank you so much. Let's jump into the video. So SoFi is going to release their Q2 2024 earnings Tuesday, July 30th, before the market opened. And believe it or not, I actually don't think Q2 is going to be a really strong quarter for SoFi. For the first time ever, I actually see revenue decreasing sequentially and net income decreasing sequentially. Since they've been a public company, to my knowledge, they haven't had a sequential quarter where they had revenue and net income dropping from one quarter to the next quarter. That's probably going to happen from Q1 to Q2. I still see their revenue being well over $500 billion for the quarter, but net income I think is going to be way down because in Q1 they had kind of a one-off event that brought them over $50 million of net income. But regardless, the headline numbers are probably going to say SoFi's net income dropped from Q1 to Q2. With both those headline numbers being down sequentially and that happening for the first time since they've been a public company, that doesn't sound like a big catalyst to get SoFi to move. The big catalyst that's going to get SoFi to move is actually their guidance, okay? So we know that the stock market's a forward-looking market. Stock market's trying to look out 6 to 12 months from now. So if SoFi comes in with guidance for Q3, for Q4, for full year 24 that is above their prior guidance, and they can give some commentary around lending getting in a stronger place in Q3 and Q4, the stock is going to soar. Anthony Noto has said multiple times in different interviews, some of which we've covered on this channel, that he sees the lending picture becoming much clearer over the next few months. So Q3 and Q4, we're going to get an uptick in lending because we're going to get that first rate cut sometime in Q3 or Q4 and potentially a second rate cut. So they've already got that 50% growth in financial services. They've already got that mid 20% in the tech platform. If they can get the growth back in the lending segment or give guidance that the lending revenue is going to increase in Q3, Q4, and the first half of 2025, the stock is going to move in a substantial way. For the time being, lending is still the largest arm of the company in terms of revenue, in terms of net income, in terms of operating income. So if the main driver of revenue, the main driver of net income, and the main driver of operating income is back and it's growing again, and they've still got the growth in the financial services and the tech, the stock is likely going to go on a crazy upward tear because the sentiment is going to get much better from Wall Street. You and me, small investors, even if we have $100,000, $200,000 in the stock, that's not moving the stock in a big way. What's moving the stock in a big way, since this is a multi-billion-dollar market cap, is Wall Street. So once Wall Street feels good about the lending numbers, because SoFi is able to give really strong guidance around those lending numbers and where the growth rates are going to be, that's when the sentiment's going to change. That's when the buying pressure is going to come in, and it's going to be a really fun ride for SoFi stock, probably above the $10 mark once again. On the flip side of this coin, if SoFi doesn't come through with strong lending guidance, I don't see SoFi going anywhere. It's probably actually going to go down even more in the short term. We'll go back into the $6 range if they're not able to give strong guidance around lending. Wall Street doesn't really care right now about financial services revenue. Wall Street doesn't really care right now about tech platform revenue. They're not looking out 4 to 5 to 10 years from now, like myself and many investors out there. They're looking out 4 to 5 to 6 months from now. So in that time frame, we need to see lending take off. From a long-term investor standpoint, SoFi is doing the best thing they can possibly do if we want them to become more than just a bank. Banks are extremely rate sensitive. SoFi is rate sensitive right now because, like we said, the majority of their revenue, net income, and operating income is coming from their lending segment right now. Over time, we want to see that coming from the financial services segment and the technology platform rather than just from lending. For SoFi to command a valuation that's not that of a bank, but rather that of a fintech company or a technology company, they need to bring more revenue to the financial services and, more importantly, tech platform. And that tech platform needs to spin off tons of cash for them. The tech platform could absolutely be the most profitable arm of the business. But until that happens, the stock is going to continue being valued as a bank rather than a fintech stock. And banks, as we know, trade at way lower multiples than technology companies. So what we have here is honestly the perfect setup. The long-term outlook is absolutely perfect. They are focusing on the right things to get SoFi to be viewed as a fintech company, as a technology company, rather than just as a bank, which is going to change the valuation multiples this company can command over time. And it's going to make the company a lot less rate sensitive. It'll still be rate sensitive to an extent because they're going to continue lending because it's extremely profitable. But for it to become less and less of the total percent revenue and less of the total percent net income and less of the total percent operating income is going to be good for SoFi over the long term. And then the short-term setup is also really good. They might have a slightly weak Q2, but as long as their guidance is strong for Q3, Q4, and the first half of 25, the sentiment's going to shift around SoFi. Rates are going to come down because we're going to get some rate cuts because inflation numbers seem like they're staying in the 3s, maybe even dropping into the 2s a little bit on the CPI. And it's going to be happy days ahead for SoFi's lending business. And as we said, that's what Wall Street cares about right now. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think we're going to move higher after Q2 or SoFi is going to go back into the 6s? I want to hear about it. Let me know if you're buying SoFi, holding SoFi, selling SoFi, or shorting SoFi. I want to hear about it in the comments. That's one of my favorite parts of posting here on YouTube is having some conversation with you guys down there. I appreciate you being here in a major way. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day.